The airport was crowded, the kind of chaos that made even seasoned travelers sigh in exhaustion. But for Ethan Cole, a single dad and Army veteran, chaos was nothing new. His 6-year-old son, Mason, sat beside him, clutching a small toy tank. They were heading home from a memorial event, one that had reopened wounds Ethan thought had long healed. Then, just as he took a sip of his lukewarm coffee, Ethan heard it, a sharp voice slicing through the noise. "Hey, newbie, that seat's taken!" Ethan looked up to see a young woman in army fatigues standing awkwardly in the aisle. 2 men, clearly soldiers themselves, were laughing, blocking her from sitting down. She stood there quietly, shoulders stiff, eyes downcast. Something in Ethan's chest tightened. He'd seen that look before, the quiet humiliation of someone being put down by those who should have had her back. Without a second thought, Ethan stood up. "Excuse me, gentlemen," he said, voice calm but firm. "You're in her seat." The 2 soldiers smirked. "And who are you? Her dad?" Ethan didn't flinch. "No. Just someone who knows what respect looks like." The laughter stopped. The men grumbled and moved a few seats down. Ethan nodded to the young soldier. "Have a seat, Private." She hesitated for a moment, eyes wide with surprise. "Thank you, sir," she whispered. Ethan sat down across from her with Mason on his lap. Mason looked at her curiously. "You're a soldier like Daddy was?" Her lips curved into a small, shy smile. "Trying to be," she said softly. Over the next hour they talked. Her name was Emily Hart, barely 23, recently enlisted, heading to her first posting. She confessed she almost didn't join the army because her family didn't believe she could handle it. "They said I wasn't tough enough," she murmured. "Guess they were right." Ethan shook his head. "You stood your ground." "That's toughness, soldier," Mason chimed in. "Daddy says being brave means doing what's right even when it's hard." Emily's eyes glistened. "Sounds like your dad's a wise man." Ethan chuckled. "Just stubborn." When the flight was announced, Emily stood and adjusted her backpack. "Thank you again," she said, "for standing up for me. Most people wouldn't have." Ethan shrugged. "The uniform deserves respect. Doesn't matter what rank or name is on it." She smiled, reached into her pocket, and handed Mason a small patch, a silver eagle insignia. "For your collection," she said softly. Mason grinned from ear to ear. "Thank you, Miss Soldier." Then she turned to Ethan, her expression turning almost emotional. "You have no idea what this means." He nodded, watching her walk away, unaware that several passengers were now whispering, glancing between Emily and their phones. It wasn't until later, when they landed and people began murmuring around him, that Ethan saw the headline on someone's phone screen. "General Marcus Hart's daughter travels alone, assisted by fellow veteran at airport." Ethan froze. General Marcus Hart was one of the most decorated living officers in the U.S. Army, a legend among veterans. And that young woman? His only daughter. A lump rose in Ethan's throat. He hadn't helped her because of who she was. He'd helped her because it was right. Just then, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Mr. Cole?" a deep voice said on the other end. "This is General Marcus Hart." Ethan straightened instinctively. "Sir? My daughter told me what happened at the airport. You stood up for her when others didn't. You reminded her, and me, what true leadership looks like." Ethan's heart pounded. "Sir, I was just doing what anyone should do." The general chuckled. "Not everyone does, son. I'd like to meet you someday. The Army could use more men like you, even outside the uniform." When the call ended, Ethan just sat there, silent. Mason tugged his sleeve. "Daddy? Who was that?" Ethan smiled faintly. "Just someone who wanted to say thank you." Weeks later, Ethan received a letter in the mail. Inside was a framed photo, Emily in uniform, standing proudly beside her father. At the bottom was a note in neat handwriting. "For teaching me what strength really looks like. With gratitude, Emily Hart." Ethan hung it next to his old service medals. Not for pride, But as a reminder, that kindness doesn't need an audience, and sometimes, one small act can ripple through lives in ways we never see coming. He looked down at Mason, who was playing with the silver eagle patch. "Daddy," Mason said, "I want to be a soldier like you and Miss Emily." Ethan smiled. "Then you'll be the kind of soldier who makes people proud, buddy, just by doing what's right." And as he tucked his son into bed that night, Ethan realized something profound. The wars we fight inside us, the moments of quiet courage, the choices to stand up for others, those are the battles that define who we truly are.